Hello, I'm Lady Calamere. I welcome you to my channel. I am doing my 184th video, and it will be on the Egyptian god Khnum. And I got some news. I know I haven't done one in a while, but my news is I got my cats listed. All the cats, the 6 cats, as emotional support animal. That means at the place looks like I'm definitely be moving into cannot deny me, because they only have a 2-cat limit, and that means I would have had to part with my my cats. I don't have to now, and so I got it through ussupportanimals.org. I'm just saying it was a quick process, and within 24 hours I was approved. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool experience. Thank you guys at ussupportanimals.org. I just got my paperwork today. So I am happy. And yes, I do suffer from PTSD. I do have anxiety. And I have fibromyalgia, so yep, I qualified. So I don't want to discuss any more of my health issues. But Khnum, who is he? What is he? Why would you want to worship him? Why would you, Joker? Khnum. Yeah, it's actually pronounced Khnum. Some people make the mistake of keeping the K silent when it's not. And he is the divine potter. He is the one that has the divine oh God, it's been a long day between packing, and he has the divine potter's wheel. And he is the one responsible for making the gods, humans, animals, insects, the flowers, the trees, and the fruit that grows on the trees. He is pictured as a ram with the corkscrew horns. Joker just got off me. He's also pictured as a man with a ram's head, as a ram, and as a man with 4 ram's head. From what I read, he rarely has the head of a hawk. Now, he deals with the Nile River, where he's one of the gods that's said to be responsible for the flooding of the Nile. So each god has their own, religion, cult, and spiritual practices. Well, he's the one that allows the Nile to flood. So Khnum, he is called the sculptor who gives life for a reason. And he also was said that when he knew his job was going to be getting real busy, he also was the one to fashion a uterus inside a woman, inside females, so that they can procreate life now. So some of his titles and his names he is really Joker. Joker's distracting. Oh yeah. So some of his names are Sharp of Horns, High of Plumes, Potter of Mankind, the sculptor who gives life. He's also called the Father of fathers. He's the Lord of destiny, the one who fashions gods and humans. Potter of mankind, Nile god of all Egypt, Lord of the land of life, Lord of the cataract, the potter god, the divine craftsman, Lord of the wheel. He's even called Lord of the crocodiles. His animal is, of course, the ram. He is a creator god. He is a god who gives life. He can even pass good destiny to a child who is born. He is the god of water. He's a god of fertility. He's a god of pregnancy. He's even a solar god, the god of the Nile. He is a patron of craftsmen. He's a patron of those who work with the pottery. So he also is one of the older gods. When he has different wives. When he's with Nith, she's known as the mother of mothers, and he the father of fathers. So he is the god of birth. He is a god of life. He is a god of creation. He's like an artist. He's the chief of the potter's wheel. He was called the Lord of the air and the field. He creates human from the silt and the clay on his potter's wheel. And you can see this statue is from the Summit collection. No, you are not fighting on what's left of my Egyptian altar. Get down. No, those are... I have a lot of my Egyptians. No. I gotta break up a fight on the Egyptian altar. Miss Kitty and Joker, shame on you. My place is a mess, I'm sorry. So, he is also called Lord who created things from himself. He was also said to be self-created. Later on, in the stories, Neith and some of the stories of the birth of Ra, in this story of the cult of Khnum and Neith later become the parents of the sun god Ra, aka sun god Re, who is also referred to as Khnum Re. It is also said that that Khnum is credited with molding the mighty great cosmic egg. And sometimes he is also associated with the goddess of truth and balance and justice, Ma'at. And also he is also associated with the scribe god, Tahuti, Thoth. Now, there are certain places where he is sacred. There's a beautiful temple of Esna, where he was worshipped in Esna. He's also worshipped, his main cult centers were also the island of Abu, as well as Elephantine. Elephantine. So there is an inscription from the pharaoh Zoser that says that the Elephantine Island actually belongs to Khnum forever and ever. So it was also 1/10 of southern Egypt, which was Upper Egypt's production, was to be offered to the god Khnum at his temple in Elephantine Island. Stop it! Not a fight. Oh my god. So Pharaoh Zoser was very dedicated to Khnum, and promised that Khnum's temple, which was named Joy of Life, would forever be kept in perfect repair, that it would not let go. The ruins that we see today may be visited, and there's another temple in Esna that is dedicated to the god Khnum, so that you can visit. Now, also a son of Khnum in some of the cults was the god Heka, who is the god of magic, in which Khnum was the father. Now, also at some point in time, Khnum has another family, and he has a Nubian wife named Anuket, and their daughter Satis. So sometimes arguments are made that Satis is also his wife, and Anuket was his daughter, or that both become his wife or consorts. Also, Heket is also considered a wife. She, the great frog goddess, Heket, Heket. So I know in Jewish Jewish angelology, they identified this great god Khnum with the angel Anmael, Anmael, Anmael. So there is an inscription that's 2,000 years old that describes this god sitting upon his throne in Elephantine Island, and with his sandals, his feet are resting on the Nile, and that his crown is touching the sky. Khnum is also the god, the lord of wheat and barley, of all fish and all animals, all flowers and fruit. So eventually, like I said, his labors became harsh and weary. So therefore, in order to keep creating and maintaining life, he created a device, the uterus, a replica of the potter's wheel that he placed into all female creatures, as I said before, so that he was able to transmit his life-giving creative powers into all females. So Khnum is also said to create souls, and that he's also considered the Ba of all the gods and goddesses. That with his power he populates every place. He builds as he desires. He's the Lord of, so his element, he's called Lord of the Air. And he's also attributed to the element of water. And even sometimes of earth. He's the beneficent Father. He's benign. He's approachable. Yes, he is. He may not look it, but he is approachable. So if you're beginning your journey with the gods, you know, he's chill. You know what I mean? He's cool. He's the one who enlivens infants and babies with his breath. And he nourishes everything in the womb. So he deals with the womb. He is a god of woman's womb, the uterus. He is the god to help. So if you want to get pregnant, you can call upon Khnum. If you want the baby, so you want a safe delivery, call upon Khnum or your pregnancy. He is the one to come and bring, when the baby is born, to breathe life into your infant. So all things with the uterus, any problems that you may have with your uterus, pray to Khnum. Of course, go see a doctor. Of course, take medication. I'm not going to say, hey, don't see a doctor. Go just pray to some god. No, I'm not like that. So, but he does deal with the womb. And anything doing with the embryo, with the fetus, doesn't matter. It could be the first stage of pregnancy, your second, your third, the final stage. He deals with all that. He's going to be dealing with the fallopian tubes and and not just the womb, the ovaries as well. He deals with the whole shebang. Okay, the birth canal, everything. He can protect your unborn baby and protect the mothers. So, and as I said, he's one of the one of the most ancient gods in ancient Egypt. He also wears the high crown of Egypt, like he wore the white crown that covers his head. I was going to pull my Osiris statue and show you, but I have it packed. Sorry, guys. It's packed, and it's actually, I don't know, my storage. So, some of the Egyptian names is like Khnemu Nehep, who is the great creator. And then you have Khnum Neb, who is the great aristocratic lord. So those are just some of the Egyptian names that I know off the top of my head. Some of them are pretty long, and one of the long ones that I know, that I remember, is Khnemu Kenti Per Ankh, which is Khnemu, who is the honorable ruler or governor of the House of Life. He's also called the able governor of the two lands, the great creator. He is the experienced weaver. He's of life. He is also the respected ruler of the house of the sweet life, or the respected governor of the house of the sweet life. So it's like his fame just, you know, eventually spread through the entire of Egypt, the entirety of Egypt, stretching from Philae to Thebes. I mean, he became extremely popular. So he also represents not just creating a baby, but being creative. So if you're working with pottery, or maybe you're creating something, a piece of artwork, maybe you're a great sculptor like Jeff Cullen is. I don't know if you know Jeff Cullen. I'm a Facebook friend of his. He does magnificent pieces of work. That's an example of the power of just an example of the power of Khnum, a sculptor. But imagine if you're making a sculpting and you breathe life into it, like an entity that can, or an elemental, putting an elemental into it, or creating a magical entities, if anyone does that. So making a magical guardian, that's also the power of Khnum. Or turning a piece of clay into a masterpiece, like what Michelangelo did. He made masterpieces. He made things just turn almost lifelike. So you got examples of that. So those who create things with their hands, not just through machines, those who sculpt, those who create with their very hands, can, you know, ask Khnum to bless it, to bless them. So those are some of his favorite people. You know, of course, mothers are some of his favorite people. You know, whether it's your child or you're being a surrogate mother, some of his favorite people, potters and sculptors. So the Khufu, who was the builder of the Great Pyramid, was actually called Khnum Khufu, which means Khnum is his protector. So Khufu, who built the Great Pyramids, was also a worshipper of Khnum. So the Pharaoh Khufu of the old kingdom of Egypt, Khnum Khufu, Khnum is his protector. So originally Khnum was a water god who was thought to rule over all waters, and that not just the Nile. We're talking about ponds, rivers, lakes, even the water in the underworld was associated with Khnum. But the Nile is definitely also associated with him, and he ensured that the inundation of the Nile deposited enough precious black silt to cover all the banks, to make that land fertile, to make it fertile. So this silt This black silt was basically what was used to make pottery with. That's what the people do. They molded pottery with it. So, since some people even, he's also given the title of Father of Gods, because he created them on the potter's wheel, and his belief and his cult. And when I say cult, I don't mean mind-melting cult, like some crazy cult. When I say cult, I meant like his particular religion. Khnum was also a protective, a guardian deity of the dead. So spells could be used to call him, to call Khnum, to give assistance to the dead. And Khnum can also be found in the Book of the Dead, as well on different heart scarabs that was interred with the mummies, with the dead. Because he was said, that was thought that he can bring or obtain the deceased with the favorable judgment in the halls of the great goddess Ma'at. And his animal, the ram, was considered a potent animal, which also the ram was associated with fertility, as well as, of course, Khnum. And he was even in the famine stilly. And during this famine, you know, Djoser tells of a dream that he had. And in this dream, the god would deliver the whole country, all of Egypt, from the terrible famine, only if a temple was built in his honor. So the Pharaoh did exactly what was in the dream. Pharaoh Djoser immediately created and consecrated a temple to Khnum. And as promised, the famine came to an end, and Khnum honored his end of the deal. So Khnum later on, of course, gets pushed to the side by the cult of Ra. And that sometimes happens. One god pushes the other god aside, and, you know, one religion becomes more popular than the other religion. So sometimes his corkscrews would twirl out, and sometimes they would twirl in. So sometimes you're going to see them twirling out, and sometimes you'll see them twirling in. That's fine. Khnum he turns ideas and thoughts into realities. He's a god of manifestations. So, I'm just trying to think what else I want to talk about him. His food, his offerings. Khnum traditionally accept offerings of fish. So, also, you can think about bread. A lot of the Egyptian deities, they love bread. You can give honey bread, white bread, wheat bread, you know, whole grain bread, store-bought bread that you made from yourself. You can give him offerings of pottery that you made course, a lot of gods love fresh water and milk. And back in the day, his devotees refrained from eating lamb or sheep, or using anything that came from lamb or sheep. I mean, that was back in the day. But also think about giving him like some goodies, like chocolate, some incense, honey cakes. You know, I know a lot of my gods like cake, honey cakes, things that nourish life. So, nourishing food. He would like anything that nourishes life, that's very nourishing, that's very healthy. And we think of nourishing food and, you know, like soups and stews is a good idea. And I know some of these are more modern. But when you think about when you're sick, soup or a good stew when it's cold out, right? And you just have this nice stew. What are other things that he definitely likes to, yeah, so those are some of the things he likes to nom on, you know, like the nosh. Think of crackers. You know, when you don't feel good, you eat crackers, you eat soup. So it's just things that nourish life. Fruits. He's the god of fruits and creates fruits. So, you know, you can buy store-bought fruit, or you go to your garden and, you know, harvest some of your tomatoes or your carrots, or maybe pick some figs from your tree or apples and offer him some. Those are some of the good ideas to put, you know, to give him. So, and like I said, he is a god the god who created the first egg from which the sun was born. So he not only created the gods, he also creates the soul of each newborn child, which he could bless this child. So, and after each child was born, this god Khnum gave the child the gift of health. So you can ask the god Khnum when your child is born to give him the gift of good health. So Khnum you can dedicate any of your potter's wheel to Khnum. So an idea placement is, if you have a room for pottery, you can put him there. You can put him in the room that you do artwork if you're an artist. You could place him, I mean, even molding bread to, when you mold it to the shape you want, you can, some people, I mean, an ideal place is also the kitchen, where it's nourishing life, right? So maybe you make dumplings from hand. Maybe you make cake from hand. Maybe you do all this from scratch. Those are just some of the ideas of what Khnum represents. Food nourishes life, and making beautiful, creative food, being a being a decorative chef, to do all this stuff represents the power of Khnum. And additionally, also, this god was considered a protector of the god Ra during his nightly descent into the underworld. So Khnum protected Ra on his boat of millions of years. That's Ra's boat, of course. Khnum also was depicted with a jar pouring out the waters of the Nile, pouring out the waters of life. The Nile was important to life, for without it, life would just wither away and die. In Egypt, it was very important. So, his name is, of course, you'll see him spelt different ways. Khnum, which I'm going to be spelling this video with, but he's also known as Khnemu, as well as Chnum, as well as Khenmu, even Koine, Khenmew. So it was different spellings, a little bit different words for him. And he's also simply sometimes just called the protector. He is a protector deity. Now, some of his celebrations and worship. And before I go on, also another thing, he's telling me he likes beer. Sorry, Khnum. It's been a hard day. So if you're writing down, just go back to offerings and beer, as well as wine. So beer and wine. Beer and wine, wine and beer, beer and wine, wine and beer. So he's a great god for beginnings. He's a great god to use for creativity. He's also a god to be used for power, calling on your power to take back your power from someone, as well as healing. And he also works along with the powers of prosperity. Oh, his feast days. So his festivals and feast days. It's actually one is coming up soon, which will be July 27th, because we're in the month of June already. I think June 19th right now, but it's July 27th. So July 27th, then coming up would be August 16th, and then the 26th. So July 27th, August 16th, and August 26th. Also, there is one in January, come on, brain work, January 22nd. So July 27th, August 16th, August 26th, and January 22nd. July 27th, August 16th, August 26th, and January 22nd are his feast and festival days. And he was worshipped in the early dynastic period. Ancient times. So even in before that, he was worshipped, but he, yeah. So another association he has is with the sun. So sometimes he was considered a solar god or a god of the sun. So some of his color correspondences that have been used with him is yellow. That's why also orange, black, and blue. So the K in his name is not silent, it's Khnum, or even Khnum. But the K in his name is not silent at all. So Elephantine Island is also Abu, but like his primary cult centers, like they're located right on river sides, right by the side of the river, because that was an important place for him. So, you know, he was prayed to release the Nile. And sometimes the Nile would be released too fast and there would be floods. But again, the Nile, the inundation of the Nile was very important. And it said that he can cause it or he can withhold it. Now, interesting enough, and not to be confused with Sobek, which, if you want to learn about Sobek, I did a presentation on him. But during, like, the earlier histories of Esna, Khnum was sometimes depicted with the head of a crocodile. And in that cult, his wife was Nebtuwi, Nebtuwi. So now sometimes forget that. Now he was often invoked by his priests and builders to help create strong bricks, to build pyramids, to build buildings. And of course they lasted for over 4,000 or 5,000 years or even more. Now Khnum was also linked to the first pyramid architect, the royal famous priest Imhotep. So in the famine stele. So, and that was discovered in 1889 by a guy C.E. Wilbur. Trying to think of how to spell his name. C.E. Wilbur. Wilbour. And that was near Elephantine. So, you know, during the Ramesside period, which was up to 1069 BCE, and that was considered the high point of the building history in Egypt, Khnum was actually honored. His statues of Khnum was actually honored alongside Horus and Isis. So at Ramses II's temple, at Beit El Wali. So just some interesting information about Khnum. So tired. I feel like falling asleep. But I got too much to do. So, really, Joker? Anyways. Yes, I'm still packing and I'm still moving. So, just wish me luck on that. So, anyways, there we go again. You hear that? I hate when I go, I don't like saying when I talk. You know I'm tired when I do that. So anyways, we see this statue where he's holding the knife and the feather. This is actually, I believe, from the Summit collection, the statue. Yeah, it is from the Summit collection, but I had the sticker removed. They make some really good statues. Look them up, the Summit collection. So I think I'm going to cut this presentation a little bit short because I got a lot to do. But if you like this information, if you like my video on this information, please give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel. And that helps me know that my work is good. And it helps my channel grow, and it changes the algorithm. So every time you watch this video, it changes the algorithm and more people get to see it. I do these videos for free, even when I'm very busy with packing and everything. And also, since I don't have a Patreon account, please think about supporting local artists or your local occult store. You know, just by going in and buying a few sticks of incense if you can't afford anything, or leaving just a little, tip. Maybe you talk to them and you don't buy anything, but you leave a little tip for them. Because a lot of brick and mortar occult stores are closing down. And it's a really shame. So anyways, thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it. And as always, blessed be